Hello, Puget Sound community. This is Jake Nelko from Career and Employment Services. And today, as another installment of our Ask a Logger series, we're joined by Kasey Janousek, a Sociology and Anthropology major from the class of 2015. Kasey is currently serving as a Solutions Engineering Program Manager at Box and is located in Los Angeles, California right now, but she works remotely, much like all of us currently. So she can tell you more about what that life looks like on a regular basis, as well as on this COVID-19 basis. So thanks so much for joining us, Kasey.
Thanks for the intro, Jake. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. And for our students in attendance, thank you all for joining us. The first 15 to 20 minutes of our call will be dedicated to an interview with Kasey, and then we'll open up for a conversation for those in attendance to ask questions. So Kasey, let's just jump right into it. Could you start by describing your job and your employer?
Definitely. So Box is a cloud content management company. Some of you might be familiar with it or similar cloud content management companies like Dropbox or Google Drive. Box itself is kind of aimed more at the enterprise. We have enterprise security wrapped into the product, whereas Dropbox and Google are more kind of on the consumer side where you might use it to share photos with a family friend, for instance. So I've been at Box kind of 2.5 years now. Time really flies. And the role that I'm in right now is that I'm a solutions engineering program manager. Being a program manager, my day-to-day kind of changes every single day. So I can talk a little bit about the solutions engineering team and what it is. It sits within the sales organization. So our structure is really, you have a account executive that helps manage the relationships with our customers. And then the solutions engineer helps with that on the technical side. So if the customer has questions about the product at a technical level, our solutions engineers are really the experts in that to help sell our product in a way that the customer can really understand what the back end looks like. So being the program manager, I help with rolling out different projects. I help with optimizing processes. I help with creating new programs that are more on kind of the people development side. So to name a few, we are currently redoing our onboarding process. So when a new solutions engineer starts at Box, what does our education and onboarding look like? You can think of it like passages, for instance, at UPS would be the corollary. But we want to make sure that they are ready to go into the field and start working with our customers and give them all the knowledge that they need to be able to do that and to execute in the best way that they can. So like passages, you want to get a student ready to take on college and get ready and ramped into their classes. It's very similar with that. We also are creating programs right now for solutions engineers that have been at Box for a little bit longer. So to make sure that they're happy and enjoying and learning and developing, that portion of their career at Box and continuing to do that, we want to make sure that we're providing them tools so they can further their career. So just a few examples of what I do, but it really varies day over day drastically, which keeps it fun. I don't get too bogged down in one particular project all the time, but I really get to do a lot of different things.
Okay, great. That's a good baseline to get started. And this next question, I'm sure, will be top of mind for a lot of students that would be watching is, especially your SOAN major.
Yes.
Graduated about 5 years ago. You're here working with engineers. How did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a story that I love to tell. So I was always interested in sociology and anthropology. It's part of the reasons why I picked UPS, because there was such a strong SOAN program. So in high school, I was just so enamored by different cultures and stories from people all around the world, and I wanted to study that. Around junior year, going into senior year, I wanted to use that knowledge that I had learned from SOAN and apply it to fashion. I always loved fashion. It had always been a passion of mine, but I knew I didn't want to go to fashion school and fully commit to going into the fashion industry. And so my senior thesis project was on street fashion in Indonesia and understanding that from the SOAN lens, for instance. So after graduating from UPS, I wanted to get into the fashion industry at that point, not on the design side, but more on the styling side. There was a company that I loved as a consumer, and the fast track way to kind of get into that was to start working in the retail stores. So I worked as a retail development manager up in the Bay Area after graduating. That was my first job out of college. Then the first month, which was very exciting and thrilling. And I was there for about a year and a half. And I started realizing, you know, I live in Silicon Valley. There's all these tech companies surrounding me. And the part that I loved about what I was doing within retail is I realized I was really driven by sales and working with customers and understanding revenue models and how I could still give back to the consumer. And at that point, it was selling them clothes to make them feel better about themselves and feel like themselves and kind of display who they were as a person. And so I thought, you know, why don't I transition into tech? Again, being in Silicon Valley, surrounded by all these tech companies. So I started working in online sales at a tech company. And I loved it. It was, you know, I wasn't selling someone clothes, but I was selling them software, and it made their lives way easier. So I felt that same benefit, like I was giving that same benefit to my customer. And that's kind of how I got into tech sales from there. I've been in a few other customer facing roles. Again, I was customer facing when I first started at Box on the Executive Innovation Center team. And what we did there was help arrange customer briefings between our executives and our customers. And then this role as a program manager really spoke out to me, where I kind of thought of it as the solutions engineers were now my customer. I was building programs and projects to help benefit them. And it was really cool to better understand the inner workings of how to kind of run a successful organization. And then in the broader business organization of Box, how this contributes to that. So it is a very non-traditional background that I have. What I love about it is, you know, in 5 years, I've really had the opportunity to now work in both retail and in tech and understand that there's all these correlations between the two. And if you take it back to what I learned as part of my SOAN major, it was really kind of connecting with people and understanding their story. And that is what I feel has really benefited me in relating to customers and understanding what they need. And there's just this value, I think, of empathy that through college and each of these jobs, they've all touched on. If you're an empathetic person, you can understand kind of the pain points that your customers are facing. And so that's kind of my guiding light through my career, is really tapping into that empathy.
Cool. That's really helpful to hear, and especially to hear some of those transferable skills or strengths that I'm sure a lot of students are feeling like they can bring to a team, but not really sure how to get there. Which kind of brings me to my next question of, what advice do you have for current students, or maybe a recent graduate who is trying to take their first step towards what you're doing?
Yeah, I would say it's okay to not know what your end goal is. I still don't know what my end goal is in my career, and I think that's totally fine. If you do know what your end goal is, awesome, that's great, go for it, but continue to take risks. I'd say don't be too linear in how you think your career should end up. I think my career has followed more of like the free spirit path of understanding the core tenets of what I want to do, but not knowing kind of, well, what job is that, or what role is that? But again, having a sense of what I enjoy to help guide me down that path is something that I think has been really positive in my own career path.
That's good advice. Yeah, I think most alumni that I've talked to would say the same kinds of things. It's not a linear path. There's just a lot of different ways that people get into what they're doing. So it's good to hear that kind of being reinforced. In terms of our current status, hopefully this question will seem very dated very soon, but how do you see COVID-19 affecting your field in terms of hiring and employment opportunities right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question within tech. I think I can speak about Box specifically, due to the fact that we're a collaboration tool. We specifically have not been hit really hard in terms of our day-to-day changing and having to reevaluate where we're spending our budget and what that means for hiring. I know that there are other tech companies out there that are, in the market of doing executive travel that have suffered, or specifically around hiring that have suffered. But luckily for us, we have more customers reaching out today to us than we did a month ago. So I think it's something that we are very grateful for, and understanding that we are very lucky for that. I am concerned for graduating seniors, folks that are going into the job market, when you look at the headlines and what the news is saying. But there are so many companies out there that are hiring, and I think it's about digging, looking on LinkedIn, better understanding the job market around you, and maybe going as deep as thinking, okay, what products are there out in the world that companies are using that need to be used even more now that people are working remotely, and understanding that, and just kind of diving into what that may mean in tech. So I would say that's my advice. I feel for all of you. I'm so sorry that this is happening during your period of higher education, but what I would say is there are companies out there that are hungry for your talent. So as much as you can, stay positive and keep making connections.
That's great. And also I'll plug Handshake as a tool that we use as of January, which there's a lot of opportunities there. I'm sure not as many as there would have been under different circumstances, but that's another great tool to use in searching for who's hiring out there. I've got a couple questions related to like taking yourself back when you were a student.
Yeah.
So what was one thing that you wish you did as an undergrad to prepare for life after graduation that you didn't do, or maybe that you wish you had done sooner?
Oh man, that's a great question. I was actually thinking about this particular example like a week ago. When I was a senior, I had a politics and government class with Seth Weinberger, and it was like 10 people in the class. Obviously, most classes at UPS are discussion-based, but this felt really, really small and very discussion-based. And on the first day of class, he went around the room and just would call on people and ask for our opinion. And it wasn't something that I was used to. And it kind of threw me off, and I got nervous, and I don't think I spoke up in that class as much as I wished I had. And now looking back on that, like that's how we run meetings at Box. Like you're expected to speak up and say how you feel about something, and give your feedback and give your opinion, and that is valued no matter if you're entry level all the way up to an executive or a company. And so I know this is kind of a roundabout way of answering your question, but I wish I had taken advantage of that opportunity more in those small discussion classes to give my opinion, speak up, note something that I found interesting, because being at Box now and in these meetings where I'm expected to do that, it's something that I feel like I really had to play catch up on. And I could have taken better advantage of that while I was at UPS. In terms of going back to your question, preparing more, I really wish I would have networked more with alums and taken advantage of CES, but I'm glad that now I can do that as an alum and pay it forward.
Yeah, we really appreciate that, especially times like these where we gotta get creative in connecting people. So cool. Kind of on the flip side, what was something that you worried about as an undergrad or as a new professional that you wish you would not have worried about so much?
I remember it was like February of my senior year. I had already started reaching out to potential employers, which again, for some people is like, you kind of have to do that if you want to go into a certain field. For me, I wanted to go into fashion and retail, and I was way ahead of the game. And I think I focused on it a little bit too much, and I overanalyzed, what am I going to be doing after I graduate in May? What's next? And I think it took me away from a lot of the things that you can enjoy as a senior who's about to graduate college, and spending time with your friends that you might not see as much after you graduate, taking advantage of all of the graduation celebrations. I think I focused way too much on, okay, what's next? And I know for the seniors out there that are listening to this, like, graduation celebrations are like probably the toughest thing to not be having right now. So this might not be the best advice, but I encourage you to continue to kind of be in the moment and take advantage of the classes that you're attending, and really feel what it's like to be a college student, because that's something I miss. I miss those discussions. I miss, being able to read something and then turn to a professor or a classmate and say, here's my opinion on this. Like, let's talk about this. Let's dig in deeper. That doesn't happen, unfortunately, as much in the real world. So I would say, as much as you can, take advantage of being in the place that you're in right now, and know that things will work out. Things worked out for me. Things worked out for my classmates, my friends that were graduating alongside me. I know, again, this is probably a very, very weird time to be graduating and entering the job market, but I have no doubt that for anyone with a UPS education, they're going to succeed. So.
Cool. Yeah, start planning your meetups with classmates now.
Yes.
Obviously, you don't know when that's going to happen, but yeah, that's great advice. I think, as much as I'm always talking to students about planning for the next thing, taking advantage of your time, being productive, it's a stressful time to hear that now, but also no one is going to look back at their life and wish that they would have worked more. They're always going to wish that they would have spent that time with their friends or family. So that's good advice. So my last question before we open things up, what tips do you have for people preparing to apply for a job with your employer or with any employer?
Yeah, it's a great question. My best tool in job hunting, whether it was when I was in college or recently when I've switched jobs, is LinkedIn. And it is the best asset, I think, in connecting to people. You kind of have this fair playing field in a way where whoever is on LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to reach out to and introduce yourself. You want to have a compelling story as to why you're reaching out. You want to be open to connecting with people. You want to have an ask for that. So if I reach out to a recruiter or an executive at a company, why am I doing it? I don't want, just to say, hey, I want to learn more about your role. I should tell them why I want to learn more about their role. So I think LinkedIn is a great tool in really getting the connections that are going to help you better understand where you might want to go with your career. People are always willing to talk on LinkedIn, I find. And kind of within that too is just like getting your resume prepped and ready to go and getting as much feedback on it as you can. Send it to a friend, send it to, I think, CES. Yes, Jake, there you go. Send it to me. That's like an open invitation to anyone listening to this. I would love to give resume feedback. So I do it for my fiance. I did it for my dad's coworker. It's something that I love doing. And it's your most powerful tool in showing what you have done and what your accomplishments are and kind of why you want to go into a certain job. So between, LinkedIn and resumes, I know you guys have probably heard that 1,000 times, but it really is true that those are super powerful tools, and they're two tools that I have spent a ton of time on and researching best methods for it, and has paid off in my career.
Thanks, Kasey. I'm always happy when people give the same advice that I'm giving, so it's helpful. But honestly, it's helpful to hear it from different angles, and for me to know that that's the right advice to give.
Yeah.
And I agree with all of that.
It's a great question. It's something that I consistently think about. I've had a lot of friends that have gone into the job market and said, hey, I think I want to go into grad school to really hone in on a specific focus. For me personally, I have not currently in my career faced a closed door or a block because I have not gone to grad school, which I think in some professions, you have to do it or it greatly benefits you. But so far in my career progression, I've been continually growing and have not kind of had a blocker set in my way because I don't have a grad school degree. That being said, I'm not closing that door off by any means. It's always kind of this question mark in my head. I know that, you know, the skills that you learn and the connections that you make during grad school can really catapult you into that next career step. So while I have not done it yet, it's definitely something that's kind of always in the back of my head. I look at qualifications as kind of a testing ground for a company to put out there to see what they get in return. When I look at qualifications on a job description, I still put my resume out there and I still apply, even if I don't feel like I completely fit the mold. 9 times out of 10, I've gotten a response. But I would rather get a response being told, like, I'm sorry, you don't have the qualifications, than not try at all. I think a lot of times what matters more is getting that phone screen with a recruiter or a hiring manager and showing kind of what you have to offer, because while the resume is extremely important, it's you on paper, and you on paper is not going to be as exciting as someone having a phone conversation with you and better understanding what you have to offer. So I would say don't let it deter you from applying to a job by any means. Obviously, if it's something where they say, you know, we need 10 to 12 years of experience doing X, Y, Z, that's a little bit harder. But for entry-level jobs, I, for instance, in my retail job, had not had any retail experience. And I got hired into a manager role. And so it's those things where once they understand how your skill set could apply kind of in a non-traditional way, that gives you a foot in the door to potentially get that job versus not applying at all. It's a great question. I am going to have to think about this. We have a lot of coordinator jobs. So recruiting coordinator jobs, marketing coordinator jobs, where I have seen coworkers come straight from college right into those jobs. What I will say about Box specifically is, while we might fill those jobs really quick just because they're hot commodities and Box is a great place to work, I believe it's 30% of open roles we fill internally. So what that means is if I start at a certain role and I'm in it for a year and I find I'm interested in pursuing something else, you literally tell your manager and work with your manager to switch teams entirely. So when I first started at Box, I was working in customer success. And I had loved the role that I was in, but wanted to move over to the solutions engineering side and work with my manager, and we got it done. And so while the specific entry-level jobs may seem kind of few and far between just because they do fill pretty quick, we're all about like career side steps as well as promotions. So that's how we do it at Box. And I think for a lot of new grads, it's something that's super helpful because they get to understand kind of how the business works in different capacities while staying at the same company. It's the best company I've ever worked at, hands down. It is something that I love about Box specifically, that being our culture. It's something that isn't something that we just kind of throw around for fun, but we hire based on our company values. We run meetings based on our company values. We promote based on our company values. They're literally on our badge to get into the Box offices. And that for me is something that is the reason why I've been at Box for 2.5 years. It really is something that I know that the company values and makes decisions off of. I won't go into our company values specifically and what they are, but there's about, I want to say 8 of them. And it honestly makes Box just an exciting place to work. We, I believe, are around 2,000 employees at this point, but still operate like a startup, which is great. You know, what that means is that people can take on projects and kind of fly through with them. And the speed of efficiency that we run at is incredible to me. But we also are mature enough as a company to have a set culture and kind of set values and a set infrastructure. So it doesn't feel like we're pivoting every single day like a startup might. And that's kind of what I love about it is when I first came on, people had so much trust and faith in me. And I'm like, I haven't built any credibility. And they're like, no, you have. Like, you were hired here. You have the credibility to make decisions and have an opinion. And so for me coming in and just having that expectation was maybe daunting at first, but turned just out to be so extremely exciting. I mean, I was like, back when I was on the briefing team, I would like be in a room with our CEO getting him prepped to talk to a customer. And I'm like, how am I qualified to be doing this? But I was hired there for a reason to do that. And so that at its core is what I value about our company culture. Again, like, it doesn't matter if you're entry level, it doesn't matter if you're an executive, like, you are able to contribute immediately to what our mission is at Box. And that's just a really exciting thing. I get all worked up about it because I really am so passionate about our culture. And it's something that, you know, I've worked at a startup and I've worked at a really big company. And for me, Box is just this perfect size. Again, you can make a difference and you can fail and still be supported. And I think that's just something that's so special about where I work.
Thanks for watching this Ask a Logger interview with Kasey. For more information about how CES can support your career development, visit pugetsound.edu/CES to schedule an appointment with a career advisor like me. And we'll see you again next time.